All right, we're getting into a young science conversation this hour. And like I said, our guests are here. We're going to welcome Dr. Victor Mwongera, who is the National Director of Young Scientists Kenya, and Gheida Abdalla Omar, who is an alumna of the Young Scientists Kenya. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation. So obviously, science, you guys are into this thing, but how about we do a little bit of, teaching, proverbial learning. CT is going to give us a proverb today, and he's been in the landlocked countries of Africa for the last few. Maybe he can ask you, they're science people, so they may be able to know where this is. We're not just limiting it to the petri dish and the Bunsen burner.
Science.
Other kinds of science.
It traverses boundaries.
Voila.
Yes, and if it's research science, you will have what you call multi-site studies.
There you go.
So, boundaries don't hold scientists back.
Thank you.
So, mention one landlocked country. No Uganda, no Rwanda, and no Burundi. Now, 20.
Okay.
Let me start with the student. She's likely to be more in tune than I am.
One landlocked country?
Yes.
Just one.
Okay.
Do not be afraid.
Sudan?
That's good.
Well done.
Yes. You need not be afraid. It is landlocked.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Lesotho.
Oh, that one is really landlocked.
It's really landlocked. Completely surrounded.
Yes. To be thorough.
Yeah, that one is completely landlocked.
So CT has a proverb from yet another landlocked one, and then what you guys will tell us is what you think about the proverb and what it means to you. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week, ending tomorrow, are from the Central African Republic. I like this country. Most we say the Republic of Kenya, Republic of Tanzania.
Yeah.
Them, they're not waiting for you to tell them. They're telling you they're the Central African Republic. They're not in West Africa, they're in Central.
Central, yeah.
Those who are born on an ant hill take a short time to grow.
Okay.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yes, your interpretation.
What do you think, Ada?
They take short time to grow.
Those who are born on an ant hill
Yes.
take a short time to grow.
Okay. I feel like an anthill is these young insects that usually grow there have their movement. How their movement is it how they move. I mean, they're shorter the movement in how they get their food and how they reproduce within the team, within the insect kingdom makes them unique in terms of their growth, because they don't have to move around and such. So everything is centralized within where they are, and whatever they do with each other.
That's a very beautiful interpretation.
Thank you.
Yes, you've taken it home. You
Really?
Focus of the ant. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's the
Thank
thing about
you.
proverbs.
Yeah.
And why we ask for people's opinion, you can never tell how somebody relates to a proverb until you ask them.
Exactly.
So now I want to ask you that.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, when you said born on an anthill, I imagined a human born on an anthill.
Yes. See, now that's your
Yes.
interpretation.
So I think my take from that is that if you are born and live on an anthill, it's a very painful experience. Yeah? And so the short time to grow is probably that if you come from a background of a lot of struggle, then you're forced by circumstance to mature very fast. You're forced to grow. You're forced to be very focused very quickly.
My goodness. This
Man.
is clearly a science conversation
Yes,
that
definitely.
we're about to embark on today. Because, both of those, and that's a beautiful thing, isn't it, about our different opinions?
Yes.
You've never imagined that you could see a different side of things just because another opinion was offered. I think that's great. Both of you. Okay. So, Young Scientists Kenya, even as we get into looking at the future of Kenya through the eyes of young scientists, what is Young Scientists Kenya, Tari?
Okay, so thanks for that. So Young Scientists Kenya is actually an initiative between Ireland and Embassy. It started through an MOU between the Embassy of Ireland in Kenya and the Ministry of Education. for Kenya, and that was in 2017. The idea being that it was modeled after a program that the Republic of Ireland has had for over 60 years, where they bring together students through an exhibition. They call it the Young Scientists and Technology Exhibition, an annual exhibition. And it's meant to promote the STEM area within high school students. So they come and they display their projects, and it's a very big affair in Ireland. Actually, in that side, they have a scenario where all ministers and the Prime Minister go for it. I don't think we have an event like that in Kenya, where everyone in government goes. So similar to that, that model was brought to Kenya. So from 2018 up to date, we've had our programs. So one thing that we took from them is the same thing, the exhibition. Every year we have an exhibition, and the way students participate in the exhibition is they submit their projects. They go through various stages of judging and vetting. The first stage just to look at the theory of the project, if it makes sense, that it's something innovative. Then going through to the next stage where the students are asked, now from your projects, work on it further, produce a prototype if you can, produce a poster. And then we now facilitate them to come to Nairobi, the final lists of the projects, to come exhibit. So these are student teams of 2 students, very particular 2 students with a teacher supporting. And most importantly, the teacher is supporting, not doing. Teacher is supporting the students because it's very student driven. Now, in addition to that exhibition, we also found that there is a little bit of a gap in terms of this message of STEM in the country. If you look at some of the more urban developed areas, you'll find that STEM is well known. People have opportunities, they have careers. But moving into the rest of the country, because we have very many counties in this country, there's some areas where students don't even know what STEM is. There's some areas where students think STEM careers is actually the 3 careers, it's engineering, medicine, law. That is pretty much STEM.
Yes.
There are some who think, oh yes, I know very much about STEM. I know very many careers. But what right do I, coming from this county, have to pursue this STEM? So let me just do what is in the community. And in addition to that, we also promote the fact that, these STEM careers and solutions don't have to be very theoretical. They don't have to be these big ideas that make no sense. They can actually impact your community. The STEM projects that they come with, we encourage them. Let them be something that is solving a problem in your community. So to that end, then we do outreach program. We go to various counties, gather students together in a school, ask other students to come. We talk to them about what our program is, but we also bring partners along. So partners who have innovations and solutions in the country. We'll bring some of the bigger partners like Safaricom, the ones who are well known, and we'll bring the numbers.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we also bring along people who have gone through our program, like Gheida here. They come to the school and they talk and say, yes, I have gone through this program. It is not this pie in the sky idea. It is something that actually works.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, Gheida,
Yes.
what, from your experience, getting the overview of what Young Scientists does, how did you then decide to go into this? What does it mean for you? And then coming to look into how then you can see the country then in different eyes. What opportunities then has it provided for you, and what have you then been able to do as a result?
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. I will go back to when I was in high school. When I was in Form 2, and I remember my high school teacher introducing me to Young Scientists Kenya, and he was like, you like participating in KSEF, that's Kenya Science and Engineering Fair, where we build projects. So YSK was something that came to me when I was in Form 2, and I did participate once. It introduced to me how to build projects. How was I confident enough for me to think of a chemical project despite me studying chemistry in school?
Yeah.
So that's when I started thinking in a way that solutions are there to be built and people can be able to build them. As a student in school, how am I integrating the science that I'm learning in terms of biology, physics, chemistry, for me to come up with a solution that's going to help the community or even the school that I came from?
Yeah.
So that was in my Form 2 level. With that little mindset, I was exposed. I joined most of the programs Dr. Engineer here was saying. We had the STEM outreach programs where we were brought in different speakers on different levels of STEM. And growing up with that, it made me realize that there are so many fields in STEM. I even got to learn about aeronautical engineer in one of the STEM program outreach that we had. So for me, that was like a turning point for me to understand and be able to gauge myself that I really have interest in science. If this is what STEM is, if this is what the whole aspect of STEM is, then this is where my interest was. Because I knew I wanted to do something to do with science, but I exactly did not know where I wanted to feature. So I participated in 2022. That is my second time. The first time I didn't win. I did not appear in any of the category among winners, but that did not deter me, because when I saw people getting awards, that made me go back to the drawing board for me to come up with a better and a more viable solution. So I built Girls ISAVE, which was under the category of social and behavioral sciences. We were building an app that supports young girls and women fight issues of GBV, teenage pregnancy, and early forced marriage. So why this was a challenge I saw in the community I came from. I used to stay in Malindi. Back then when I was in high school. And looking at the structure, young girls and teenage pregnancy among Kilifi County was on the rise. So having the knowledge that we're building solutions based on problems that actually affect us, that's where I found the niche. And I decided to use technology, now integrating it for social impact. Having this application that's going to do this and this and this is going to go a long way in helping people. So immediately when I participated in the Young Scientist Kenya, that's my second time, I became the overall winner in the social and behavioral sciences, because the project entirely focuses on social and behavioral among young people, and then we're using technology at the same time. So it was combining these two things. So when I got the results, actually I remember when they were announcing, I didn't know there was first runners up. So when they read the results, I was like, maybe I did not get selected again yet for the second time, but then I won that overall category. That's when I got the confidence now to tell people about my project. And that's when I built the confidence that, okay, indeed this is a project that is worth me moving forward with. To date, I do a lot with Girls ISAVE, and I've been able to reach out to so many young girls within Mombasa, both physical and virtual, to be able to integrate the aspect of STEM for young girls to be able to fight these issues. So yes, YSK has been an instrumental key for me to be able to understand the concept of STEM and how we can use it to solve problems. To date, when I talk to people or young people, I usually tell them, find that one solution and then work on it. And as much as it's gonna be maybe unpractical or anything, but if it's helping someone, if it's helping one person, then it's something you need to like push yourself to do it.
Okay, talk a little bit more about this project of yours. I'm interested.
Okay, so yes, Girls ISAVE is a web application that we are trying to allow. We have cases of GBV moving on, teenage pregnancy, and early forced marriages. Now, looking at it as that one young girl who is seated out there and this community barrier, you going maybe to a counselor or even going to a police to report will sound like it's obnoxious because of community culture and backgrounds that are associated within our communities. So if you have a platform, with my little mind, I will say I was thinking having a platform that is going to help you get connected. And
please refer to your mind as your mind. It is not little.
Yes.
But by the time someone can come up with a concept,
yes,
to the point where it is even applicable, your mind is anything but simple. So according to me, and according to my thinking,
yes,
no more simple mind.
Definitely.
Okay, please proceed.
According to me,
yes.
I knew this is something that will reach to many young girls and women, and also the fact that we are trying to connect them also to counselors and psychologists and mentors that are gonna be people they will look up to in different angles, particularly focusing to economize this project using STEM for young girls. So I have actually worked with a team, and we've trained over 25 girls on STEM education and them building innovations within Mombasa. So it's a whole process. I feel like it's a journey that each and every young person needs to be able to understand. We do no longer need to think about being employed. It's about you building your own thing. Come up with what one thing that is going to identify you. I actually do not believe in, I don't see myself being employed. I want to start my own thing. Like Girls ISAVE as a startup, a STEM academy startup that's going to move across coastal region and even Africa at large.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
It is. And, I mean, I'm not even going to ask how old you are because I don't think we're just already saying it's young. It doesn't matter.
It's not really important.
It's not important. And, that's the thing.
What's
that when
important is that you're young.
There it is.
Thank you.
That we don't even have to ask about the age because we're looking at a point whereby at any level, there's something that you can do. And I want to connect that to what Victor had said earlier, that, you're looking to solve a problem, or you're looking for a solution that this science or that this particular subject is going to help you to solve. So what are some of these solutions that have been brought about as a result of this? Because it's practicality, isn't it?
Exactly.
A lot of the times we speak kind of like building castles in the sky, and we talk about the ideal situation, what it should be, and it would be great if such and such a thing happened. But you've seen it practically.
Yes.
So what kind of solutions are we talking about? When you say it must be solution oriented, what are those, and what have we seen that have actually solved problems in communities? Yeah.
So let me talk about two instances. One is our last year's winners. That is an interesting story because they came from Turkana County, a county that previously had not had actually any schools or students participate in our 5 years. So in the 6th exhibition, this was the first time a school from Turkana was coming. And when they came in, they had a solution. They had looked at their various issues. And of course, as you know, in that area, resource is a challenge. But to them, they thought, why can't we use local materials for solving problems? And I don't know what the school is like. I imagine it's very strict on discipline and appearance because their project was actually creating shoe polish from avocados. So you can imagine, they looked at this and said, no, shoe polish is a problem, we can't get it. But avocados, we can get these things. And they created this shoe polish, brought it to the exhibition. And the one interesting thing, the reason it brought a huge attention is they would tell you, sit down, bring your shoes, sir. They seem to be a bit dirty. Let us wipe them. Let us polish them. And you came out with your shoes shinier than someone who is Kiwi.
Macadofia.
Exactly. So because of that project actually ended up winning the overall category. And let me say for the overall category, because we have various categories, the overall winners actually get, in addition to the prizes, they get sponsorship through our partner, to Strathmore University. And they also get to fly to Ireland to see, like I said, it's medaled on the Irish program. So that project, in addition to that, we also take them through boot camp so that, the project does not end with you winning. What do you need to do to ideate it? So that project in itself was actually so popular that when we went back to Turkana this year for outreach, the principal was very clear that, that winning that project has brought them a lot of attention. They've actually rocketed to near the top in terms of science in their community. So not only do they have a solution that works, but the fact that they took part and won means that we have a lot more submissions from that side. The school is seen as a leader. And so even students there are saying, okay, this is no longer a Nairobi or a Mombasa thing. This is actually something we can take part in and win. So a second project that I want to bring to attention, this is actually one that will be here in this year's exhibition. And I'm sure Ndu and City, I'll see you there. But
we take it that is an invitation.
Yes, it is very much an invitation. Yes. So these are students who are actually doing a project of looking at how to reduce ammonia in the soil. The reason for that is because the student has given a background that in their family and in their community, there's actually the ammonia levels in the soils have actually caused health problems. They have caused health problems to the point that it is becoming known. When a problem is in your environment, it is known when you go to the hospital, this is probably this. So the students have sat down and thought, as much as we go to healthcare and do this, the problem is actually in our environment. We need a way to reduce this issue. And so they've come up with a way of extracting ammonia from the soil and in a sustainable method so that if they win, if they're able to get funding, they're able to implement it and make their community better. So you can see that comes even from a personal experience of both the community and from themselves. And they're looking to be able to display this project at the exhibition in an attempt to, not only show the solution works, but also get that attention going. Can we get, since we will be having many donors and people, they'll be looking to say, can we get some assistance for this so that we build this project so that we get this thing going?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Let's take a break at that point, but I think it's very interesting because because a lot of the outcry that we hear is not for want of ideas, but the outcry is to make the connection between the idea that I have and the support then that I need to make it happen. And then now let's see what exactly then those needs are and how they can actually become realities. As we started this conversation earlier, you talk about, some of the things that you see, and just coming off of what Victor had said earlier is that the support is what is needed to connect the dots, right? So the opportunities are bound, or do they? Are there opportunities to actually use science, what you learn in school, or what you see that science is needed to employ? Are there opportunities to uplift people in their livelihoods, where they've come from, and also contribute to the country at the same time?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. I will just connect to the project engineer Victor said on ammonia. Ammonia is a concept that is well taught in chemistry and biology. As a young student, when you're in school, I always like urging when I speak to students that whatever you learn, try as much as possible for you to be able to understand where you can apply that knowledge. When you talk of ammonia can be converted in a way that instead of it giving a side effect of health issues, you can use it into the soil back for it to be able to maybe make plants grow better. So I'm looking at it in an angle where, yes, this is a challenge on one side, but with the knowledge that you learn in school. Some of these students or some of us young people, we tend to just think that we are studying just because we have to pass exams. Importantly, we need to be able to understand that these are concepts that have been there for long, and using these concepts might be able to help us solve a problem. So if we are able to look at opportunities that are there and whatever we learn in school, I feel like there is great opportunities. Because when you talk of, let's say, physics, machines, and if you learn about different kinds of machines, how is this machine? I remember asking my teacher when I was in school, if I become an engineer and we're learning about machines right now, how is this machine going to help me become a better engineer or even improve on the existing ones? So it's all about how we take and how we think as young people, because opportunities will be there, but who is there to take them? Let's say Young Scientists Kenya offers our platforms, but if we don't come with these solutions, then who is going to provide the solutions? So given the right opportunities, I believe, and right platforms, we have the potential to do great things. Like if we talk of connecting and networking, when I completed Young Scientist as a winner and I went for the business boot camp, I got connected to an organization that deals with women and young people and girls in Kwale. So I took the initiative to move forward and reach out to that young lady, send email. That's when I started learning how to connect with people. And ever since we've been in conversation and they've been part of us growing as Girls ISF as well. So I feel like connections and connecting people, like partners involved and bringing people together, it's about how passionate are you in whatever you're doing. Because I believe we have so many upcoming innovations, but if you do not stay fixed to it and you're very confident, like this is something I really want to push forward, then the right people will definitely find you and opportunities will walk and open doors for you.
Engineer, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
This is a program. I have heard of many programs. This one is among some of the best I've actually ever come across. How is it funded? How long is the funding cycle? I'm asking 3 questions here. And how is it that we ensure that learning institutions imbibe, cement this knowledge so that when the funding and everything around it comes to an end, because funding comes to an end at some point, they are able to carry on the very things that the funders intended for them to do, including looking for new funding within the country.
Okay. So I'm glad you asked me that, Siti, because number one, we are funded by various organizations. One of our core funders is the Irish Aid, which comes through the Embassy of Ireland. Like I mentioned, it started with an MOU between the two organizations. So they are one of our biggest donors. and that allows us to carry out a lot of these programs. In addition to that, we have other organizations. We have Safaricom, we have Raspberry Pi, we have quite a few organizations that also plug in. But we also have partners who give not necessarily money, funding, cash, but they also give support. One of the biggest ones I want to mention is Strathmore University, because they've been a very strong academic partner. And they've committed that the overall, like I mentioned, the overall winner, they get scholarships to Strathmore University to study a STEM course, a technical course. In addition to that, we have other organizations who might not want me to speak too much about them, but they have committed to supporting students from other categories to go to other institutions. So you see, it's an ecosystem of funding that depends on a very good relationship with our partners, which I really believe we have, and I'm very grateful to them. But that being said, we can do more. And what I mean by this is that, let me take this year as an example. So this year, when we had the project submitted, we actually had 1,700 projects submitted in the initial stage. And that is 3,400 students. You can imagine how many those are.
Yep.
When we got through to the next level of judging and viability, we found that about 802 projects were viable. And these are projects that we could now, if we had funding, we could have brought them to Nairobi. But that would have meant bringing 1,604 students and the accompanying 802 teachers. And that comes with a lot of logistical costs, accommodation, transport, and of course, these being young people who are underage, due to our safeguard policies, a lot of things we have to put in place. We have to have mentors. We also have to have assistance for the special needs students. We have some special needs students coming to this exhibition, and we're very careful to ensure that they have all the assistance they need. We also have refugee school students coming in. So all that means that we actually could not cater for that big number of students. And it's a little bit of a sad point to me, because that is something that I would love to be in a point where we're able to say as YSK that all the students who make it through to the stage of display, we can cater for them. But the realities of funding, of course, means that we cannot. So one of the things we are always open to is finding more organizations who are willing to partner with us in this journey of building education. But just to give comfort to the listeners, we're actually able to do about 100 and 304 projects, which means we'll have about 312 students and teachers, and those are coming in to either exhibit, and some have actually said, this program is so good that even if we didn't make it to exhibit, we will raise our own resources and come.
Wow.
Yeah. So you see, it's a very exciting program. Like, if we're able to raise more support, definitely we'll be able to do more. In addition to that, now there's something else you had mentioned in terms of sustainability within the schools, which is very important. So other than the exhibition is, of course, our core program. It's our biggest program, and is the one we're known for. But other than that, we're also working with other organizations who are looking to do, as you said, leave lasting programs within schools. And one of the organizations that we're working with, Raspberry Pi Foundation, they are actually supporting us to roll out coding programs in schools. Not as part of the taught program, because that is a very that's a very long journey to get in there, but doing it as an extracurricular activity as a coding club. So students, after their studies, when they have these various clubs, one of them that they're forming is coding clubs. So on our side, through this funding and through this very strong support, we are bringing in young people that we have trained, actually mentors who we pick from previous winners and so on, trained, who lived in the community, and they come into the schools and they train both the students and they also train the teachers, but we also train the teachers.
Okay.
So you see that program, the idea of that is that once we finish this program, which is currently running, we vision that it will end by end of this year or possibly beginning of next year. Then we have number one, mentors in every county who are actually trained to be able to deliver this program. We have left, number two, teachers who we have exposed to this program and trained them. We've also left them with the material for the training. And we have also left that relationship between the mentors, the teachers, the students, and the schools going. So you see, the school, if it's interested, is able to pursue that and build on that program. And that is something, that program has worked quite well, and it's something that we're looking to expand with other organizations that are interested and willing to support education. How can we now bring in additional exposure, additional value add that actually sits within the schools?
How do you, excuse me, how do you protect, I mean, here we're talking about intellectual property and things like that, because these are students, these are, you know, young people who've come up with an idea, and from what you're saying, they're sustainable, they can actually have impact. But then how do you protect them from somebody rocking up and just, you know, picking up the thing and running with it?
It's a very good question. So we have various policies in our main policies, our safeguarding policy. Safeguarding of the children is paramount. So as part of that, we, of course, aligned very much to data protection and the policies of the Ministry of Education that safeguard our children. But in addition to that, we're very careful that there is consent whenever the children are involved. And that is, of course, informed consent from the guardians and from the teachers who are given protection of this. Consent also from the Ministry of Education to be able to carry out our programs. And consent from anyone who is required. Now, additionally from that, when we come to the project, because you have mentioned the project that is displayed, when the project is envisioned by the student, because it comes through young scientists, then there's an aspect of ownership of the project based on that submission. You know, it is because the student is not recognized yet as a legal age, but through the student, the teacher, the school, this ministry, through to your YSK, then an aspect of this project is owned and ideated by this young person through this program. In addition to that, just because, you know, some of these projects might be very exciting, that is why we're very keen to have the business bootcamp that Gheida mentioned. So there, one of the biggest things that is brought out by our partner, Kipi, is how do you go forward in protecting your idea if you're going to push it forward to being a business. And some people who have pushed the ideas have actually gone through this process of getting IP protection. Not everyone does it, but at the very minimum, we make sure that those who have ideas that can go forward are aware of it. And we also make sure during the exhibition that there's actually a session for all students and even the young people who attend who are not exhibiting. We have a session for them and tell them this is what it means to protect your idea. This is what it means when you go through IP protection, applying for it in Kenya, what you need to do. This is how YSK can support you. This is the parts that you need to take on, because part of the responsibility is on the person. So I think, let me just finish by saying, one thing is that a lot of the things that we're talking about here, they're actually better seen than spoken of.
Experienced than spoken of.
Because I realized I invited you to the exhibition casually. Let me do it properly. So it is actually next week from Wednesday 20th to Friday 23rd. That is when we're having the exhibition. And it is at the Edge Convention Center in South Sea. And one thing is that it is free to attend for everyone, everyone involved. There's actually no charge. If someone charges you, call me or call Gheida. We will deal with it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we really want the public to come because we really want the public to see the young people. I think that is one of our biggest targets going forward. We really want a lot of the public to come. You know, like the way the ASK show is. We also want this one to also be like, let me go to YSK show.
Yeah. So, Gheida, what are you hoping? And I'm sure, I mean, obviously you've spoken to many others who, you know, have these innovations, who have these ideas, because we're talking about the future of Kenya seen through the eyes of science. But the future could be tomorrow. The future could be this afternoon.
Definitely.
You know, so what are you hoping some of these projects that you're involved in will actually do for Kenya? Yeah.
Thank you so much for that question. I'm someone who is very considerate when it comes to solutions and what you're trying to solve. Looking at the context of Kenya itself, there's so many challenges in different angles, whether it's water related, roads, and everything. So I feel like if we put focus on things that really exist in our country, and these are challenges that are like we face on a daily basis from each and every county. I believe each and every county has their own strengths and weaknesses. So as young people, as we're trying to solve problems using science and using technology, or basically STEM, let us focus on those key elements that are weaknesses or the weak points or the challenging area. Let's say if it's water in this area, how is this water gonna be changed? Let's say if you want to treat this water, which chemical use are you going to use to make it more easier for people within the community? And also let us make how we solve our problems very community based. Like you've in a community, let's say from Turkana, the local available materials that you're gonna find there are what are you gonna use to maybe solve the problem, to make it easy for the people that you're going to explain, because you cannot solve something that is not achievable at the end of the day and people cannot afford it. Because if expenses become too high, then bringing other people on board and it becomes a challenge, then I feel that will be a challenge. But using science or using STEM generally to solve problems is something I'm really passionate about as a young person, and I feel like if each young person thinks in this angle, then Kenya is going to solve so many problems at a very faster rate.
You know, as you speak, I'm thinking
yes.
of schools that this country has one unique thing. We have far-flung schools everywhere.
Yes.
When you create an environment where people think solutions,
yeah,
I'm thinking the education system and how it is resource-challenged areas can actually get the students to actually be on par and to compete with an element of equity with those who have an abundance of resources.
True.
Now, that's why I asked about the schools and the sustainability of this in schools, because a lot of our learning is rote learning. As you say correctly, we learn so that you can pass exams.
Yeah.
But the idea of learning so that whatever you learn can be applied, as simple as that.
Exactly.
And it's not just science, even history,
Yes.
geography. You said you leave the tools with the schools. Do you have a process by which you determine whether those things are, the tools are actually being utilized? And do you measure, or is there a way of measuring the progression of it? Because when you first come to the school, a number of people are interested. Over a period of time, how many? And that can also be measured by the convention and symposiums that you have.
Yes.
Have you ever been overwhelmed by a situation where people have presentations, people have innovations that are so many, you're trying to figure out what to do with them? Have you reached that point yet?
In terms of the exhibition?
Yes. I want you to reach there. Then the saturation that we're talking about and the diversity that is representative of the country, then we'll have an idea that what is being done is actually achieving what it's supposed to.
Yes. So I think, as you've said, we have yet to reach there, where we get to a point where we are feeling that there are too many. And like I alluded to before, we need to grow our partnership and donor base. That is what will help us. But that being said, in terms of diversity, I feel like we're doing well, because this year we are having students from all 47 counties actually being represented at the exhibition. So if you go there, whatever county you come from, you will pick your county and you will find your students from a particular school. We're also having students from 3 special needs schools coming there. We're also having students from 2 schools in the refugee camps, in the Kakuma refugee camps, which is actually a first for us, and we're very excited because that is also helping towards that diversity and equity across the country. And we're also having, for the first time, a school from Rusinga Island. So we are having, we're continuing to grow our diversity. Yeah. What we are not yet there, but that is a very strong target, is those numbers, as you've said. You walk in and it is just overwhelming.
Yes.
Because ideally that is what it should be. We need to get to a point where actually we're talking about there's only 2 venues in this country that can host us, because the numbers are very, very large. But that point is very much taken. We need to get there and we need to drive towards that direction.
So what does it actually, excuse me, what does it actually look like? And I think even as we run, I want to hear from both of you, because when we talk about the future, it seems like, again, I just come back to that point, 100 years from now. But no, the problems or the solutions that are being looked for Kenya today are here. They're today.
Yeah.
So what can you actually see from some of the things that are being done, from some of the ideas that are being, what then does the future look like? Not what the projects are. What does the future look like based on what you know your hands are doing now?
Okay. To be honest, I really feel like we are going to have like a better and more advanced future, because when you look back in the years and you compare to whatever is advancing right now in terms of technology and the advancement in artificial intelligence, we are moving in a faster rate. I feel like we are moving in a faster rate, though it could be that we are slow, but there will be so much change in terms of development within the country. But I know a lot of investment has to be done in terms of growth, in terms of scalability of some of these projects and ideas. But I feel like there is a change. Me growing up and to what I can see right now, growing up in times where smartphones, social media and all that. But right now, if you want to scale up things, even with a smartphone, you can be able to scale up whatever you want to do. You can be able to reach out to so many people. So I feel like future, if you bring in more innovations and more like technology-based solutions, at a faster rate, you'll be able to reach to more people. And even with the use of like social media, you'll be able to reach more people and even wider in terms of the reach.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. I think one of the things that would come out of this continued program, and it's already coming out, is this impact area of exposure. A lot of the people who come through the Young Scientist program get a benefit of exposure that is hard to quantify, but it's very easy to see. What I mean by that, we all have friends who have this story of, I grew up in a small village somewhere, then I saw my uncle's house had electricity, or I got into a car for the first time. It's a tale that we tell, but we don't realize that exposure is what led that person to decide, I want to change my pathway.
Indeed.
Exactly.
So when we see it at Young Scientists, we see it at a massive scale. You have a lot of students who come in the first time they've come to Nairobi. So, part of the thing is we even take them to various places in Nairobi, museum and Kirdi, areas that they can see what's happening. Secondly, it's also exposure for the first time that they get to see students from other counties, in other communities, because a lot of the students we interact with, you speak more your language of the area than English. So they get to interact with these different people. It's almost foreign. It's like this is actually in Kenya.
Yeah.
And I think the third thing is that when a young person comes through this, and Gheida is a very good example. Sorry, I'm going to use Gheida a little bit.
Totally fine.
When a young person comes and they get to interact with all these various people, donors, the PS might come or so on, various CEOs and so on, then they get to experience that actually there's a network I can build here. There's things that I can do. So these young people tend to go forward and then take on courses. They tend to take on initiatives that are different from what they normally would. So it becomes very strong impact that we see in the community around us of what people do, what people act, what people can do in the future. Yeah.
Fantastic. Very, very innovative conversation this morning, and it was great to have both of you here, and they must continue. Dr. Victor Mwongera is the National Director, Young Scientist Kenya, and Gheida Abdalla Omar, an alumna of the Young Scientist Kenya. Thank you very much for being here this morning.